In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Spirit of God. Amen. Life is hard. Life is hard to all it is. So said my forebear, Clemens, side of my father's family, Samuel the following by any armed man. Life is hard. Thomas Hobbes doesn't improve it much when he says, it is solitary, nasty, brutishly short. And I think even the most optimistic among us recognize something that is true about the statement, that even the best of lives that we might live, there's times of great sorrow, and suffering, and struggle, heartache, chaos, and grief, and so on. But what if we somehow would know it was all the way out? And I don't mean that tomorrow afternoon the thing that is absolutely causing anxiety right now will be resolved in a way that we think it should be resolved. But I mean that the future isn't going to hurt you. What if we could know? Wouldn't that change the very way that we live our lives, the way we get out of bed in the morning and go and approach the world and engage with one another and face our lives? Well, interestingly, this really seems to be all about that. Not obviously so in the gospel accounts themselves, and synoptics will really talk about Transfiguration. But in almost every hymn of the church, the point of the Transfiguration seems to be that Peter, James, and John should know ahead of time he's already on it's going to work. So that then they beheld me crucified, they would know that my suffering was voluntary, says God. Hymn after hymn after hymn says this was to show in advance, don't worry, it's going to be okay. Don't panic. Don't be afraid. Don't run away. Of course, it doesn't work because they do run away. They do panic. They do get anxious. And yet, 2 of the 4 Gospels, anyway, are the product of this feast. You know, Peter gives his recollections to the evangelist Mark, a tradition that's how the Gospel of Mark came to be. John himself wrote his Gospel. The Gospel we're talking about today doesn't actually contain the account of the Transfiguration, but the whole Gospel is a Transfiguration story. And the whole Gospel is about how Christ's suffering was voluntary. Nobody takes my life from me. I lay it down of my own accord. This is the teaching of the Transfiguration, which John knows, which John, of course, is the only one who does such a disciple. So, in a way, although there's a lot in the content of this feast, which is so revelatory, the church fathers tell us a lot about that, what it shows about who God is, but more importantly, perhaps what it shows us about human beings are. Right? The Savior Emmaus would say the glory of God is man fully alive. This, finally, is the story of creation come to its fulfillment. This is the glory and radiance of a human being transfigured by the light of God Himself. That's what's being revealed here. Our own future, our own purpose, our own purpose as human beings are shown. So there's much in the content of the feast which is so important for us to reflect. And in a weird way, the hymns can be directing us more towards how we interpret our lives, the kind of hermeneutics of Transfiguration that we're invited to go into. What if every moment of our life we could apply that hermeneutic of Transfiguration and think, not what is this representing right now, what am I feeling, experiencing, and worried, and anxious, and frightened about, but rather, what do we make of this in light of God's teaching to us, revelation to us, that it will all be okay. But the story doesn't end with this, that even every moment of suffering, and pain, and struggle, and heartache, and solitary poor, and nasty, and short, all this morning makes this clear. Do you want to make your election and calling sure? And pay attention to this prophetic word, this truth, this revelation from the end of the story, which comes like a light in the darkness, so that when the new day dawns, the morning star rises in our hearts, that truth we find in redeemed. We can experience that now by interpretation, by knowing, seeing, by bearing what we can of the glory of this week's understanding that anything we are going through is not the final chapter of the book. The book goes on, and we know the final chapter. That has been revealed to us in this glorious image of Transfiguration that he said before. So as we come and we sing these hymns, as we come and we venerate this icon, as we receive into our mouths and hearts the very divine communion, which is the life of the kingdom to come, let us